Parshat Toledot, we're continuing with our series on Spot the Difference, and it actually dawned on me last night. Again, I say this introduction almost every time, that the reason or that the emphasis on this matter of Spot the Difference is dafka because of these Parshiot of Bereshit, which they take place before there was formal Torah, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to the Jewish people. And it reminds me of a comment that is attributed to the Vilna Gaon in his commentary to Pirkei Avot. In Pirkei Avot, it says, it starts off that Moshe kibel Torah misinai u'mesaru le Yoshua, etc. So in Pirkei Avot, which is translated usually as the Ethics of the Fathers, which speaks about matters of morality, general morality and ethics. So the Mishnah, the first Mishnah starts off with the statement that Moshe accepted Torah from Sinai and he gave it and transmitted it to Yoshua and Yoshua to the Zkenim, etc. And all the commentators ask that why is it that Dafka Pirkei Avot, which is halfway through the Shas, halfway through the Talmud, suddenly the Tana reminds to tell us that the Torah was given Sinai. This should have been the introduction to the very first Mishnah of and the Talmud. Why is it halfway through the Talmud that you tell us now that the Torah was accepted by Moshe from Sinai and then transmitted from generation to generation? And the Gra and others, they explain because Pirkei Avot hasn't got halachot. What is Pirkei Avot? It's like teachings of ethics, of morality, and as he says, there are many scholars, people, human beings who compose their own books of ethics and morality. Just look at the internet today, see everyone's got his solution to the human problem, and so the Tana starts off, it says you should know that these moral and ethical teachings, their source is not from the Rabbanim and from the Chachamim themselves, but they accepted these teachings, these moral and ethical teachings, not necessarily halakhic, formal, legal teachings, from Sinai as well. So I'm saying the same thing over here. The human beings do this and they do that, and the Parshiot of Bereshit is speaking about before there was any formal Torah. And we found that the Avot, the forefathers, they did this and the other. And the question is now that under this context where there's no formal Torah, b'chol ofen, nevertheless, the whole point is to spot the difference. What exactly is unique and special about the conduct and the behavior of our Avot? So having said that, again in the introduction to this series, I wanted to make a very, very brief point this time, and that is to notice the way that the beginning of the parasha and the end of the parasha are, to contrast the two. And my intention is like this. Basically, the beginning of the parasha, the Torah tells us about the birth of Yaakov and Esav, and the Torah tells us that at a crucial point, a point in which Esav is actually going to start off a process of separating himself from the Jewish people, even though both his father and his mother are Jewish. But Esav is going to veer, just like Ishmael. He's going to separate from a terrible, tragic separation from Am Yisrael. And it tells us at the beginning of the parasha how this all happened. He was one day, came back from his hunting. He was exceedingly hungry and thirsty, and he saw that Yaakov was cooking some pottage, and he said to Yaakov that please give me some of that food. So Yaakov said to him, I'll give it to you on condition that you send me my birthright. Your birthright, as the Torah describes. And in the end, Yaakov said to him, okay, so swear to me. So he did. And then it says that he ate and he drank and he despised the birthright. He said that I'm going to die. Of what use is the spiritual birthright to me? And in that way, he started off a process of rejecting the spiritual heritage of the Jewish people. And how does actually the parasha end? The Parsha ends with Yitzchak intending to bless Esav, and he says to Esav, I want you to prepare for me a meal, and after I have this meal that I enjoy, then what I'll do is I'll bless you. And we all know the end of the story, that Yaakov took the blessing. But what I'm trying to now just point out is that the beginning of Esav's journey, and the end, the formal severance almost of the connection between Esav and Am Yisrael, they both take place around and concerning food. In the beginning, Esav, just because of food, is prepared to reject his heritage, and in the end, the blessing in which Yitzchak is now going to give to the next generation, the blessing of the covenant, although there's machlokot exactly, it's only one part of it because it's a blessing that comes after it, but it also revolves around food. And what's the difference between Esav's concept of food and Yitzchak's concept of food? Well, when it comes to to Esav, so nothing can describe better than the way the Torah says it, that he says to Yaakov, Haditeni na mina adom adom hazeh. Haditeni means basically shove that red stuff down my throat. That's how he looks at food. And how does how does Yitzchak look at food? He says, I want you to prepare me some food in order that I will feel close to you, attached to you, and then I'll be able to bless you with a full heart. And the Mefarshim, they explain like this. You see, when it comes to a Jew, when it comes to Yitzchak eating, is the physical process, if it's done in the proper way, if it's done through Torah and through mitzvot and with an aim of raising the body, so then what it does is it elevates the eating of the food. That's how Jews always looked at in the inyan of food. And that's why Yitzchak, the eating of the food is that there also shouldn't be a dichotomy between the soul and between the body. So therefore he says, I want to bless you with the whole heart. I don't want that there will be a dichotomy. And I want there to feel a sense of harmony and menucha, a sense of peace. I want that the body gets its due, the soul gets its due, and that they amalgamate and that they are elevated. That's how Yitzchak that's how he looks at the food. As opposed to Esav, who says, just haliteni, pour it down my throat, like as if you are force-feeding the havdil, an animal. And I end off that. That's why on Shabbat, when there's a very interesting definition, we all know on Shabbat that the Jewish people were blessed with neshama yetera. And Rashi says, this extra soul, in what way does it manifest itself on Shabbat? We all know on Shabbat we feel different. But in what way, if we try to pinpoint, in what way do we feel different? Rashi says that a person eats and drinks on Shabbat and he doesn't feel any dichotomy. He doesn't feel a pull. He doesn't feel over here that there's, he can feel a little bit like a little bit heavy before when he eats the cholent. But basically there's a sense of harmony. As my Rosh Hashiva, Rav Goldvich Zechet Tzadik Livracha used to say, that on Shabbat a person eats and the soul gets benefit, and a person rests, and a person learns a daf of Gemara, and the body gets the hana'ah. So that's the spot, the difference of today. The difference is when we see how basically Esav and all those who follow him, how they look at food, and the way how we look at food is like diametrically opposite. We look at it as a means to elevate and to bring about some sort of harmony between body and soul.